this conversation that you present. Now, Professor Shomali will present his conclusive paper that he has planned for today. And then we have the break later on, because it's only half an hour that we are here, so it's better that we have the break after some time.
The name of God, the compassionate and merciful. I thank God for another day of week of unity and pray for His guidance and assistance. When Vincenzo talked about listening, I remember a story I shared with some of the Popular brothers. That we have a friend in Philippines, Chris, and to Philippines in 2000, I think it was 6 and 7. Then I came to know her, and then for several years we were in touch. Then we lost touch. Till recently, there was a program, online program organized by our brothers in Uganda, and she was a co-panelist. I was one, and I saw her name, and then the person who was in touch with me is Jay. So I said, please convey my greetings to Chris and see if she remembers me. And he did the same, and then said that Chris remembers you, and said that when we met first in Philippines, I was giving talk, and there were many people. After the talk, you came to me and said, "Are you a Focolare?" And she was surprised. Then I had told her I didn't remember. She said, "The way you listened was different." So, because I have been giving many talks, and normally my popular friends in the UK used to come to give me support or unity in a university, some places. So this is a good quality that I want to mention, and thank God for this good quality in Focolare, that when they listen in the way that you get energy, and there are many people who have love, but this is a special. And I could detect that this person must be a Focolare, the way he listened. So may God give us the quality. Yeah. We can listen with love and unity. We have something about our sixth Imam, Imam Sabir. He was living a time that there were lots of problems in the Muslim world. And one of the things that was happening also was that there were many different views being introduced to the Muslim world, and some people were not able to digest. Anyway, there were people who were questioning existence of God next to the Holy Kaaba. And once one of the Shia, when saw them questioning existence of God next to Kaaba, was very upset, and they started, arguing with them. And they said, "Whom do you follow?" Said, "I follow Ja'far ibn Muhammad, I'm six Imam." He said, "But he's not like you. He doesn't get angry. He comes and, he listens to us, And when we mention everything, he reacts as if he has no answer. He listens carefully, calmly to us, and when we think we have convinced him, then he starts talking and refutes our points. So you must go and learn from your imam, issue. So when this is the case with the enemy of God, then we have to be calm and respectfully and lovingly listen. What about people of God from different traditions or from our own tradition? So unfortunately, many of us, we don't have this quality of listening with love, with emptiness, and without prejudice. Thank you very much, Vincenzo, for your presentation. Okay, in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, I am not going to talk long because we have very limited time and this is the closing morning. I just want to share some reflections about future. I mentioned something about what is God's plan in the way we understand. Of course, we are too little to understand God's plan, but we just try to get some glimpses of that, and in the way that we should move to that direction. In Islamic literature, we have many things about the end of time. And this by itself is a field of study about the end of time, what is going to happen. And for us, the Shia, we divide it also into two parts. The world before coming or advent of Imam Mahdi, the world after that. So some years back, I had a series, Globe Before and After the Advent of Imam Mahdi. When we read these hadith and literature, what we find is that, in my words, when we approach the end of time, the side of the truth and the side of falsehood will reach their climax, the peak. Goodness, virtues, and people of them, and badness, vicious traits of character, they all reach the peak. And it seems that quantity-wise, the side of falsehood will be much stronger, based on my reading of this text. So when you look at number, maybe look at money, I don't know, weapons, instruments, maybe the wrong side will be stronger. But the side of the truth and light qualitatively would be stronger. So maybe less people, but much more capable. So never truth and falsehood will completely take over. They will go hand in hand. Sometimes this part is stronger, sometimes that part may be stronger. God never lets anyone to, totally win when it comes to the falsehood. And of course, falsehood doesn't let the truth also win completely. So we reach the point that we will have the best of people in that time and the worst people at that time. So in our reading of our hadith, although we have great companions of the Prophet or Imams that as individuals they were very high, but in general, we have the best generation of the believers towards the end of time, because they go through lots of challenges, they will be tried in different ways, but they are very understanding and very much committed. In one hadith, our fourth Imam says that those who are believing in the 12th Imam and committed in the time of occultation are the best people of all times. So the quality of people of in the end of time would be best quality. And the quality of people of falsehood also would be the worst. So this is a kind of confrontation, contrast between light and darkness, or truth and falsehood, which is continuing, and it's reaching its climax towards the end when the 12th Imam gets permission from God to reintroduce himself, and Jesus comes down. We believe Jesus is not dead. Okay? We have different terminology. If someone is dead and God revives, we say rujuk, they returns. But for Jesus, we don't say Jesus returns, technically. We say Jesus descends, because we believe that God raised Jesus alive, and Jesus didn't die. Now, for me as a Shia, I need to reflect why among all the prophets and messengers, God has kept Jesus alive and is going to send him down in that time. Yeah, for you Christian, maybe this question is obvious, but for me as a Muslim, I have to think, why not Abraham? Why not Moses? Why not Noah? And why God didn't take his life and say, okay, I will give you life back? Why God kept him alive and he says, I raised you. I'm going to raise you high towards myself. So this question needs reflection. In my understanding, Jesus didn't die because he has still tasks to do, to accomplish during his life. So his life has not reached the end because still God has some tasks for him. But he is not on the earth because his tasks are not now. His final tasks are when he is sent back by God to the earth. So he has two phases of his life: before being raised by God and after being sent down. Before being raised, he managed to be a spirit of God, the word of God. He managed to guide many people. But after he comes back, he would be part and parcel of God's plan for the end of history. Okay? So you can say he had some part in the middle of the history, but he has also some role to play in the end of time. So when we look at the Quran, we find some verses that have some hidden hints. And normally, I think we Muslims read them, and just pass. One of these, if I don't know, sisters, can you show, or on Zoom you can show, or so, for example, this verse, جَعَلُوا الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ. God says to Jesus, I am going to take you and raise you. And there is a sentence which is very interesting. God says, وَمُطَهِّرُكَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. I am going to purify you from those who rejected. It means that there are people who try to accuse Jesus and his mother of certain things. And God has decided to keep Jesus and his mother intact and not being affected by these attacks. And then God says, وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. God says to Jesus, I am going to make those who follow you above those who don't believe up to the day of resurrection. You can. جاعل الذين اتبعوك فوق الذين كفروا إلى يوم القيامة. This is a kind of also prophecy, because if someone thinks, is Jesus going to be forgotten? Is Jesus going to be, someone who is going to be rejected? People will lose faith in Jesus, etc. This verse says no. This verse says that God told Jesus, I am going to make those who follow you above those who are faithless, maybe faithless in God or faithless in Jesus. I think it's faithless in Jesus. مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. So, this is what God promised to Jesus when Jesus had very little, followership. When Jesus was raised by God, he didn't have many followers. But God says, I'm going to make those who follow you above those who are faithless, إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ, up to the day of resurrection. Now we have to reflect on few things. One is, what is to be above those who have no faith? This above is not certainly in number. So if a time comes that there would be more atheists or more people who don't believe in Jesus, we are not surprised. Of course, we will be sad, but it's possible. But when it comes to influence in the world, when it comes to impact on humanity, true followers of Jesus would always have upper hand, higher position compared to those who don't believe in Jesus. And this is a very important point. And for me, as a Muslim, when I see this is only said about Jesus, it's very important. I have to think, why it's only about Jesus. And the other point that we have to reflect is اتبعوك, those who followed you. Who are true followers of Jesus? True followers of any prophet, any leader, are the people who obey him completely. For example, the Quran says that Abraham was a follower of Noah. Abraham was a follower of Noah. None of the prophets or messengers started bringing a new religion. It's one line, and everyone followed the previous one and paved the way for the next one. So Abraham is a follower of Noah. Moses, Jesus, Prophet Muhammad were followers of Abraham. There is one line and everyone follows the previous leaders. God says to the prophet that you should follow the path of Abraham. وَاتَّبِعْ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. And in another place, in the past tense, وَاتَّبَعْ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. So, whoever follows Jesus wholeheartedly and completely is a follower of Jesus in this sense. So, there can be Muslims who are true followers of Jesus, there can be Christians who are true followers of Jesus. What is important is that they should do their best in following Jesus in every aspect. They should be totally obedient to Jesus. So this verse suggests to me that Jesus is going to remain a key player in human history till end of this world. Okay? The next verse, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. There is another verse which needs reflection. God says there is no person from those who believe in divine scriptures unless they believe in him before he dies. وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. This talks about death of Jesus when he comes down, when he descends. Before he departs this world, all people who believe in divine revelation, divine scriptures, whether they are Jews or Christians or Sabbatists, whatever, they will believe in Jesus. Right now, there are believers in Abrahamic faith and in Revelations who don't believe in Jesus. Like Jews, they don't believe in Jesus. But when he comes down again, all people who believe in God and revelation in any form, they believe in Jesus. So he would not depart this world unless everyone has believed in him. And on the day of judgment, Jesus would be a witness. He would be a witness, who really believed, who didn't really believe, or who didn't follow, etc. So when we put this next to the previous verse, we realize that Jesus comes down and he will manage to convince the rest of people who didn't believe in him but believe in God to believe. Now, I as a Shia reflect on this. Jesus is coming with the 12th Imam. His true followers have upper hand. Everyone is going before he dies, to believe in him. So now I realize why God, among all the prophets and messengers, has kept Jesus alive and is going to send him down. Because God wants, through Jesus and Imam Mahdi, unite all people who believe in God. So anyone who believes in God will believe in Jesus and will be part of that movement for establishing universal justice and peace and fraternity. So there would not be parallel movements, there would not be parallel activities for God. In the end of time, we will have only one camp for God. Nowadays, camp of God, unfortunately, is torn apart. Family of God is unfortunately separated from each other, to the extent that sometimes they have been fighting each other. Yeah, imagine you are a grandchild and a grandfather, that grandchildren are fighting each other. It's very sad for you. And you try to convince them, you have the same blood, the same DNA. Why you are fighting each other? But they cannot see. They only see up to their generation. They don't see, the origin. But in the end of time, there would be only one camp, one school. So when we were here in 2015, in the house of the priest in Chesa, in Amir. Yeah. So we had a very nice time. And it was God's, providence. Because we went there for short period of time. And when we were leaving, one of the priests offered tea. And I felt I shouldn't say no. I love tea, but at that time I didn't really want tea. But when he said, I said, for, respect, I should accept. So we sat and we had beautiful discussion, which we didn't plan before. One of them asked me about my experience in Focolare, and I started, talking about how I understood Focolare. But when I was explaining to him, I was understanding better how I understood Focolare. This is the beauty of, godly discussion. Many times people ask you something, and when you want to explain, you understand yourself better. Now I have used this even for my teaching, methodology. Yeah. That I try to make my teaching a kind of like conversation, because when a student asks and I want to explain, I understand myself better. Yeah. So he asked about Focolare, and I try to explain, I have noticed this, I have noticed this. Then it became clearer for myself. And one of the things I told him was, I find that different prophets and messengers were sent by God to different corners of the world. God says, we have sent to all nations messengers. لَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. Maybe we don't know them, but certainly God has sent to all nations messengers. Not every generation, but every nation. Yeah, it doesn't mean that every 20, 30 years God sent a messenger, but certainly to every generation He has sent messengers. But they had to speak the same language of people. Yeah, Quran says, we didn't send any messenger except with the same language. So messengers never used interpreters for the first community that they addressed. Maybe later message reached out to other people. But the first people that they communicated were the people that spoke the same language. This is very important. Once, when I was in London, a sheikh came to me because we had also a seminary in London. And he said, if you make your seminary use Arabic language and not just English, then it would be better, because we can also teach, because he had a training in an Arabic speaking seminary. And I said, I believe if God sent the prophet to UK, would speak English, not Arabic. So we have seminary in the UK, it has to be in English. So anyway, so God has sent prophets to different countries, different nations, and they spoke different languages. They maybe addressed different priorities of that time, different needs of that time. Gradually, people gave different labels to these messages of God. So they said, this is Judaism, this is Christianity, this is that. But it was only one message, one religion. And Islam is not a third name actually after Judaism and Christianity. In my understanding, Islam means let's not give any new name. Go back to the name which was in the time of Abraham and all the prophets and messengers. Just they ask people to be surrendering to God. Labeling and giving names can be sometimes useful, but can sometimes also be putting an eternal mark of being different. Yeah. Sometimes, for example, in communities, we say, for example, this group of Muslims are like this, and we can give this name to them. By giving a special name, maybe it makes it easier to identify them, but there is a worry that then you are going to forever separate them from the rest of the Shia community, and they become like a sect. So naming can be useful, can be also sometimes harmful. So we have Judaism, Christianity, Islam, etc. We should never think these are different religions. Yes, in every book of religions, they say we have religion of Judaism, religion of Christianity, religion of Islam. But where do you find that Jesus said, I am bringing a new religion, and its name is this. Or Moses said, I am bringing a new religion. Or Prophet Muhammad says, I am bringing a new religion. None of them said, I am bringing a new religion. Everyone said, I am calling you towards God. They all affirm previous scriptures of God. There can be differences, but these differences are not that much that we think we are dealing with totally different religions from God. God is one. Humanity is also the same. A human being today and a human being 10,000 years ago, they are the same humanity. As gender, ethnicity would not make us different in humanity, time also doesn't make us different in humanity. We are the same human beings as those who lived in the time of Jesus, to those who lived in the time of Abraham. Otherwise, how we can follow Jesus if we are different human beings? Then his teaching would not be beneficial if we are different human beings. So the same humanity, the same God, the same problems on the surface are different, but if you go deeper, the same problems that we have. So I told to the priest that in my understanding, over time, God has sent different prophets, messengers, they spoke different languages, they addressed different issues, but the core message was the same. And they all believed in the same mission. But we gave them different names. In the end of time, there would be no different religions. In the end of time, there would be only a school of God. Not a school of Prophet Muhammad, or a school of Moses, or a school of Jesus, or a school of, I don't know, Abraham. No. Because these people, they were never supposed to be running a school by themselves. They were never supposed to be authority by themselves. They were teachers sent by God. They were role models sent by God. We forgot, we thought we have different authorities, different syllabi, we have different, systems. On the surface, yes, everything looks different. But if you go deeper, you see everything is from God. This doesn't mean that we are going to wash away the differences. It's not possible. Something which is built over thousands of years has so much mixed with the core message that is very difficult, very painful surgery. If you want to leave aside what, for example, Muslims over time have added to Islam, or what Christians have added to message of Jesus, or what Jews have added. Yeah, it's very difficult because everything is so much mixed with the rest of the thing. It's very difficult. But when there is love and unity, and when God is really the center of all our attention, then with love, each tradition, each group, each community can understand how they can get around the original message of God, which was not necessarily Jewish or Christian or Muslim. Because God is not a Jew or a Christian or Muslim. God is universal. His message is universal. It's like when rain is pouring down, water is pure. But when it comes to the earth and flows over a salty land, it can become salt. If it's a sweet, it can be. If there is, I don't know, a taste in the soil, it can take the taste. But we are receiving from God only pure water. So, what happens in the end of time, in my humble opinion that I mentioned to the priest, is that there would be a school of God. None of these current religions, that we call them religions, will be dominant over the other. They will manage to disappear in God. Okay? If Islam is a religion of God, should be able to hide in God, not to be an obstacle before God, a mask for God. The same with Christianity, the same with Judaism, and the same with religious leaders. We should, it's true, now I'm a Muslim, for example, Imam, but I should be a man of God first, not just a Muslim Imam, or not first a Muslim Imam. I should be a man of God. A man of God should help all servants of God, not only Muslims, or not only Christians. So, the summary is that when Jesus is coming back, is sent down by God with the 12th Imam, there would be no sense of, shall we call people towards Islam or Christianity, make them, baptize or convert to Islam, Shahadatain, or this is not the idea. The idea is that they work together for revival of God's original message, which would be universal. They don't feel that they are collaborating as two people who represent two different traditions. No, they say we represent different communities, but we are one tradition, one path, and that is path of God, and that is the school of God. This needs more discussion, but time is limited. And then I told them, I believe that Focolare play a role in that plan of God for the end of time. I pray Focolare continue till Jesus comes down and Imam Mahdi comes. Based on the characteristics I have seen over years in Focolare, I think they are of such a character that they are suitable for that mission. Because for that universal movement, you need people who are very committed, very united, but also open-minded. There is no ego. There is no attachment to, certain rituals or certain, names. They are just empty to receive God's call. And then I talked about, for example, one of the characteristics that I find in the Islamic hadith about people that in that time are going to hell. Our first Imam says, one of their characteristics is that their hearts are united with love. I have seen good people in many places, but I always say to our brothers and sisters when I want to introduce Focolare to them, that so far, the only community that I have seen, all of them, maybe there are exceptions, but I don't see those exceptional people. I see all of the Focolare everywhere in the world the same, united with each other. None of them backbites another, Focolare, or just says bad things about other things or about leadership, etc., complaining, nagging. Maybe they have issues, but their love for each other and for the mission is so high that you never find them, fighting or disagreeing with each other. And then Imam says, when you look at them, you think they are brought up by the same father and mother. So when I travel any place, I see Focolare from Italy, I don't know, from Philippines, from Brazil, from UK, from US. They have, color is different, the language is different, the culture is different. But you feel they are brought up by the same father and mother. In the sense that the same attitude, the same character, the same spirit. For me, these are very, very important qualities. Because these are very rare and exceptional to have in a community. In individuals, you can find, maybe 2 people are like this, 3 people are like this. But to have a community that all of them, this shows how much God has blessed Kiara and Focolare, how much their formation and everything they have done have been, effective, and how much we have also to safeguard so that this would not be lost. Interestingly, when I mentioned once this in one of the rounds of Wings of Unity, Roberto said when they went to India, they were in a complex and they had some kind of thing. So they had invited some of the children to their complex and they had some programs for them. And people were concerned, Indians, that, these Western, people are there, what are they, doing, etc. So one of them asked their child, who are these people? And he said, what did he exactly say? He said, they are
brothers, they are like brothers, but not of the same mother and father.
So this was a good confirmation for me, because it means that that child realized that biologically they are not brothers of the same family, but spiritually they are brothers, as if they are brought up by the same family. So I very much hope and very much pray that Focolare would be there for the time that Jesus comes and Imam Mahdi comes, and they would be helpers of them in that universal movement, which is not for sake of anything except God and except for humanity. There's no, nationalism, there is no sectarianism, nothing except God, pure God and pure humanity. So, what is my responsibility? My responsibility is first to acknowledge this and share it with people. I shouldn't hide the gift of God. I must share the gift of God, even if it is given to others. Second, I have to thank God. Yeah. In the lecture in Sophia, I said, if you only thank God for the flowers in your garden, you are not grateful. You have to thank God for the flowers in the garden of your neighbor as well. If you thank God for your own children, it's not enough. You have to thank God for children of your neighbor as well. So I thank God for all the gifts that He has given to Focolare. But thirdly, because I want to support that movement, I have to support the people that I think are going to play a role. So I try to support Focolare in words and in action. Number 4, I try to establish unity with Focolare, because maybe this unity helps me in making sure that I will be also part of that, and maybe helps Focolare to prepare to become more universal. They are international already, but they are not maybe yet enough universal. Universality is more than just being international. So you have to also grow. Sometimes when you grow, you have to change your dress. Otherwise become too short. So you have to grow. So sometimes our role is gently and softly push you to grow. I don't know how much and how. I just try to listen to God. So for me, when it comes, for example, to Loppiano, I think Loppiano must remain a Mariapolis with clear Christian identity, with Christian, presence everywhere. But at the same time, I see Loppiano should grow to welcome, for example, Muslims, maybe to welcome other people of faith, without losing identity. This is a challenge. If you want to lose identity, it's not going to work. But if you want to be very close, which is easier, then you cannot be ready for that universal role. So if you want to be playing a role in the world with Jesus and bringing unity to all communities, where you want to practice that? Where is your laboratory? You have to start somewhere in like Mariapolis. Anyway, I don't know that much. I am just trying to share with you as brother, some of the thoughts, and I think gradually together we'll learn more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You gave this talk another time, but I believe that it becomes, let's say, more refined and more clear also about your vision for the future. Very inspiring.
And I understand now better.
Sure.
I understand with you together.
Yeah, that's why we have to work together towards the future. And in a special way, thanks for your support, thanks for being there, thanks, but also always remember to pray for us. As I said yesterday, definitely there is a charism of unity, but we have to be faithful to it. And we need your support and your prayers, your being with us, being together in order to be faithful to that. So now we have a break.